Ladies and gentlemen, it appears that Kuro Games is continuing on the absolutely diabolical marketing trend that they've got going for version 3.0 with the full release of the attribute and the weapon type of the newest units coming in that version. They're going to be Lynae up here, who's going to be a Spectro Pistols, and then you're going to have Mornye, who's going to be a, and I think this is the one that's going to throw a lot of people off, a Fusion Broadblade. So what I wanted to do today was, rather than going through the typical kit and weapon breakdown that we would normally do after getting a look at these attributes, we're first actually going to start off this discussion with, and the relevant character and items are on the screen over here. We're going to first start off this discussion with what the hell is actually going on over here. Because I think a lot of individuals in the space, a lot of individuals that have been covering the character designs of this game, they weren't really surprised at all when they heard that Lynae was going to be Spectro, and maybe they may have been surprised if she was Pistols. But when you see a character like this who's super focused on color, and you know that the only way for color to exist is for there to be light, that's why when you close your eyes everything is black. Yeah, I mean, it makes a good bit of sense over there. Everything seems to be very, very, very thematic. But then you flip the switch a little bit, you look at what Mornye's doing, all you see is like the vast emptiness of space, reminds you of like an ocean, or maybe the coldness of space. And a lot of people thought, oh, she's going to be Havoc, she's going to be Glacio, and she's probably going to be a Rectifier user, right? Especially when you see all this stuff over here with previous marketing showing that she's going to be like a researcher or something like that. Rectifier makes a lot of sense. Well, it appears that Kuro Games has taken all of those existing preconceptions that we've had, right? You see, again, coldness or vastness, emptiness of space, Havoc or Glacio, and then we've got a goddamn Fusion Broadblade unit. So, right out of the way, let's have a bit of discussion on what the hell is going on over here. This has probably thrown off a lot of individuals, and this probably has a lot of individuals thinking, does Kuro Games have absolutely no design and no color scheming format anymore? For previous characters, right, you could have always made the excuse of, oh, this character looks like she's supposed to be Fusion, but she's actually Electro because of magnetism. Right? She's Electro because her sword, her forte, all of that, it's all caused by magnetism. And that's something that scientifically is a little bit electro in nature, right? That's how electromagnetic charges work and everything. But then you see this character over here who seems to be breaking all of the norms, where they're not even going by a color scheme, and they're not even going by scientifically, right, what people might be thinking. However, there's another idea that we can talk about over here. If people thought she was going to be Glacio because of the vastness of space, right? In a similar way, people are saying that Fusion actually makes sense over here because of the opposite reason. Because of the vastness of space, to be able to travel it and to be able to go places in space, you need to have a lot of fusion firepower, right? You gotta have a lot of horsepower. You gotta have a lot of rocket boosters, that sort of thing. And, well, when you take a look at some of the other supporting material, I'm going to be honest over here, ladies and gentlemen, it kind of makes sense. And let me talk to you why this kind of makes sense. I've actually been on the record. I've been somebody that's on the forefront of saying that she should have been a Havoc character, right? She should have been a Glacio character. Those were my first two takes. But after reviewing this and reading a little bit about what's in her archive and tagline, well, I'm open to changing my mind. So, let's go ahead and take a look at the Wuthering Waves special record over here. The Space Trek Collective Startorch Academy. This is basically like a long extended advertisement for what Startorch Academy does and what the Space Trek Collective is looking forward to. And when you look over here, Mornye is a Space Trek Collective researcher and a professor at Startorch Academy. So she fits into both of those buckets. Let's read and listen to what's at the bottom of the screen over here.
We are Sun Chasers.
Sun Chasers.
We are the Shepherds of Fire.
They are the Shepherds of Fire.
Together, we usher in a future of light.
They usher in a future of light. So, it's a combination of what appears to be light and fire and sun chasing, and you can even see over here taglines about Firebringers, and then rekindling the torch. So with that, many motifs, right? About fire, about flame, about bringing the light, about bringing the torch, rekindling it, igniting, all of that in the literal advertisement that's created by the Space Trek Collective. And then you've got Mornye over here, who's clearly meant to be one of the higher ups at the Space Trek Collective. Well, I'm gonna be honest, ladies and gentlemen. This might just simply mean that Mornye is one of the more powerful characters, is one of the most pivotal characters that there's going to be in the actual lore and the breakdown of story of Startorch Academy. Basically all the stuff that's going to be happening in 3.0. I can almost view her as like a representative of what this entire academy, what this entire institution is all about. Because you can also see over here from the second part of her archive, she is unwavering in the pursuit of her dream to surpass the limits of space, time, and see the world beyond in all of its splendid beauty. And so when fire is the entire focus of this entire advertisement from Startorch Academy, I'm not gonna lie, that has actually made the attribute of this individual, the attribute of this character feel a lot more compelling, because now you see she has greater links to everything else that's going to be going on. So yeah, that's my breakdown. That's my take on Mornye over here. And you can see over here, you've got Life Lessons Gaming, one of the biggest lore nerds, one of the biggest lore professionals in the space, already giving some clues or giving some hints for what he thinks is the take regarding this character. So you can say that we're probably both in some level of agreement over here. So yeah, I don't really think this is too much of a concern at all, but definitely there's likely a lot of individuals who are thrown off by this categorization. One thing I will say though, is that what the fuck is going on with the weapon type over here? Broadblade? I'm just going to be honest. Unless this is one of those characters who's like Jancy. You all know what Jancy does, right? She never actually swings her sword. She just like telepathically lifts it up and then like makes it swing itself. It's probably been a while since some of you guys have seen her animation, so I'll just refresh them for you. Yeah, she doesn't actually like ever swing it. You can see she never like touches it. Even on her plunge, she just like she basically like just throws it and motions it at people. I'm just hoping that whatever Mornye does is similar to that, because I don't think that there's a single person on Earth who could rationalize a small frame like this, a tiny individual like this, who doesn't even have actual legs, going around and swinging a weapon everywhere. I think that would be something that kind of throws off, like, I don't know, like a sense of thematics for anybody over here. I'm just hoping that this is what we have going on. So yeah, why is everyone saying look up? Wait, what showed? What showed? A guy was just being freaky? Okay, somebody was just being, okay, well, this was enough to get somebody to be free. I'm gonna be honest over here. Yeah, some of y'all need Jesus. Yeah, some of y'all need Jesus. But yeah, that's going to be Mornye. That's going to be the whole, like, thing when it comes to fusion and Broadblade. The fusion stuff makes a ton of sense to me, but the Broadblade stuff, I'm not really sure what's going on. All right, now, moving forward. I know we talked about her a little bit at the start over here, Lynae, but I feel like it's just worth talking about her again over here. Because I'm going to be entirely honest, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so happy about this one. So, I talked a lot about what I thought the future design of this character could be, and I feel like closer every single day, what I'm envisioning is going to become a reality. Because one thing we know about this unit is the fact that color, vibrancy, all of that is a huge part of their characterization, is a huge part of their design. You can even see it with like the whole like graffiti animations and stuff that they have going over here. She's all about that shit. And then you see it in the splash art, and it is taken to 100%. I am still of the impression, just from the stuff that we're seeing right now, I hope that she's some degree of a pistol DPS. I'm hoping that she's some degree of a Spectro Frazzle DPS, because I'm just envisioning a reality where she's just throwing around like paint canisters, paint grenades, detonating stuff, dealing a ton of damage, and then dealing more damage to enemies based off of how many Spectral Frazzle stacks are on them, right? Kind of like the opposite of Zani, who goes ahead and doesn't give a shit about how many Spectral Frazzle stacks are on an enemy. She just wants them to be built up and then just starts swinging after she builds up Blaze. I want her to actually be a bit more like Cartithia, where you want a high number of stacks on the enemies in the first place, and then from there, you detonate them and then deal more damage than the number of stacks there are. And then probably add some type of stack transfer in her mechanic as well, much like how Cartithia is able to, via her forte, right? I know it's a long-ass one. She's able to transfer stacks of arrow erosion to other enemies too. So yeah, I want to also see this character be able to apply their own stacks of Spectral Frazzle and be able to move them too. And definitely make this entire archetype over here work a lot better with Chisa. I'm going to be entirely honest with you guys. The fact that this unit is literally not usable in Spectral Frazzle teams is absolutely absurd. It is absolutely ridiculous. So I'm hoping that we have a new unit soon that helps alleviate some of these concerns. And guess what, guys? This is the funny timing. You know who's on banner right now? Phoebe, the Spectral Frazzle support. So wouldn't it be a little bit timely? Wouldn't it be pretty convenient if, with the Spectral Frazzle support on banner right now, there was a Spectral Frazzle character released in version 3.0? That's all I'm saying right now. This might, just a little bit of speculation over here, because I don't think any of the details are even out anywhere when it comes to what any of these kits are doing, so nobody even knows. All of it would make sense to me. That's all I'm saying over here. And you want to know what one of the better parts of this unit is? And don't worry, we'll be going over this in our free-to-play polls video, but I'll give you a bit of a teaser, a bit of a breakdown up front. Even if this character isn't a DPS, and even if that character is just mainly a sub DPS or a support, well, guess what, guys? You'll have access to this bad boy then, because she's a pistol user. So even in a universe where she is a support and not actually a DPS, then you still got this, which is probably going to be one of her best in-slot weapons. So that's something to be very happy about. But yeah, that's enough speculation when it comes to the roles that this unit is going to have. Like I said before, I think she's all about color. I think she's all about cool aesthetics and visuals and all of that. And one thing that I've said, and one thing that I'll continue saying as we go through these videos, is that I'm hoping Lynae has something like this, but literally the polar opposite, where Chuyan turns the world into black and white during his forte. I want her to turn the world into whatever the hell this is during her forte, or during her liberation, or during whatever the hell she's doing on the field. I want her to turn this, basically take that filter, take all of that, and then port it into the game. And I think that would be pretty damn sick as well. All right. Now, to wrap things up, somebody saying in chat, you didn't read Mornye's description. It tells you exactly what she's going to do. I'm pretty sure I've read every single description when it comes to Mornye, but if you want to pretend to be a genius, hey, let's hear you out, man. Are you talking about this? Since you want to add Giga Educated, let's see how educated you are, brother. The latest one? What latest one? Oh, you mean... Oh, you mean this one? Power levels, precision calibration, combat efficiency, all green. This told you what her kit does? This told you what her kit does. Huh? It's so vague. Yeah, that's the point, guys. This shit is vague as hell, and I cannot believe that there's any individual out there that has been able to decipher anything. Brother, she might be calibrating a fucking plasma gun. She might be calibrating a fucking laser, bro. What are you guys even saying over here? She might be calling down a fucking orbital strike. Huh? That's the point. We don't know. So yeah, I guess since we're on the topic of Mornye and her kit, I'm gonna be honest, guys. The only thing that I'll say is that it's probably good that she's a fusion. It's probably good that Mornye is a fusion character, because then she'll get to use Lupa, who has the best fucking fusion buffs in the game. And if Mornye happens to be, I guess some people are trying to speculate over here that she's a healer. Then I guess Lupa will have another teammate that she can work with that isn't Brant. Awesome. All right, but that's, I guess, the future ahead for this unit. But yeah, there's not really too much to talk about over here, at least for this introductory video. So now that we're in the wrap-up stages, we've taken a look at this. There were some chatters claiming that you'd be able to understand what her kit is. After seeing just this, all I'm gonna say is, all it sounds like is she's calibrating something. I don't know if that's a machine gun, a Doom robot, an AI, or a healing machine. Who actually knows? But that's gonna be her. Now let's go ahead, just take a quick look at this one. Maybe we'll get some insights for her kit from this. We got Lynae's. Got a long bucket list. Good thing I've got time to check every box. Okay, so a bucket list is something that you only get to when you're, like, it's a list of things that you're trying to get done before you die, right? That's what a bucket list is. That's why they call it kicking the bucket. And so if Lynae has a long bucket list, so that must mean she's living a long life, and that must mean she's a healer. Oh, sorry. Maybe I was reading into the skill description too much. That's why I actually had skipped these beforehand, because, like, I don't read that much into quotes from the characters, because I don't think she's going to be a fucking healer. So, yeah, I think that's going to be it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. Just wanted to do a bit of a breakdown, talk a little bit from an introductory perspective about what I think about these characters and their elements, or their attributes, really. What I'm gonna say is that the list over here does seem really, really, really interesting. One that's very expected. I think Lynae is something that comes as a surprise to nobody. But Mornye has, without a doubt, shaken things up, because I think that this is one character in particular that nobody knows anything about. Everyone was thrown off by her being fusion, everyone's thrown off by her being broadblade, and now we got people going to the depths, like literally, like, for crumbs. They're reaching out, they're trying to grab crumbs to figure out anything when it comes to what she might do. And I'm just gonna be real over here. My solution to everybody is to just wait and see, because I think there are a lot of kits in the game that people have been thrown off about. I don't think anyone expected Lupa to be a teammate reliant support. I don't think anyone expected Chu Yan to be one of the best buffers in the game. I don't think anyone expected Chisa to be a healer. But what Kuro Games oftentimes does is they very, very, very frequently subvert our expectations for what to expect from a character's design and the actual implementation of their kit in game. There are some units that are, you know, that fit the bill entirely. I think everyone thought she was going to be a DPS, but people definitely would have been thrown off if a character that looked a bit aggressive was a bit of a support. So yeah, it is what it is. We'll just have to wait and see how the cookie crumbles over here. But that'll be it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you all thought. Peace out.